What up, everybody? It's your boy Rashid Amir, and you are now watching No Country for Small Talk. Today we have a very special guest indeed. We have DJ Clark Kent.
It's good.
Definitely a pleasure, man, to have you on here.
I look at it like this. What I do is a for the people business, and if I can't take a moment for the people, then I don't deserve to be in the business.
Definitely, because I always feel that hip hop is a community-based thing anyway. So I think that it's always beautiful that, because I was able to get with you, I was able to get with Ski. I had Sadat on an album of mine, and I appreciate y'all for just doing that, for paving the ways and allowing artists and creatives to, continue to flourish and continue to even want to be a part of the culture, so definitely,
Right.
But so what's going on with you though, man? How's everything on your end and in your world and in life?
Well, we're in COVIDville, so it's life is most normally people would say life is fucked up, but I look at it like I'm alive, so it's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
You go through what you're going through, and you try to make the best of it. And I'm just trying to make the best alive, man. I could not be alive. I'm healthy. I never got sick. I can still take care of my family, and I'm all right.
Yeah, and about COVID, because I'm also a rapper, producer. I'm trying, get this podcast popping. And the initial idea for the podcast was to, for us to sit down at certain venues to, play a game of cards and dominoes, and we just like chop it up, kind of like a barbershop style kind of thing. And then the COVID happened, and I'm like, damn, every time I'm about to get something to pop off, it kind of feels like it's always something that kind of gets in the way. And then when it comes to, doing the shows and everything, and then I started seeing people doing a lot of things remotely, and I'm like, I don't know if that's for now or if it's because it's actually successful, if it's going to be the new wave. So do you think that with everything going on, it kind of forced us to be more creative, and with that, it kind of set a trend of, like, as you see with the versus battles and shit like that? Do you think that this is something that's probably going to end up being the new norm with how technology is advancing so much?
I think it's only going to be what people are going to use this way during these times. If something happens that we can be extremely safe and don't have to wear masks, and if we get back to that, you best believe the world's going to go back to being I believe in God, and God put the first person on the earth, and then realized that person needs a person to be a person. So he gave him a person, right? So we're here to deal with people, and this is a way, but it's not. That's the reason why people feel lonely, is because you need human interaction. You need to be able to speak to someone and have someone speak back to you, and like, there's a reason you have senses. You have senses so that you could use them. You know what I'm saying? If you're not dealing with outside world, you don't really get to use your senses. So things have to go back, and when they do get safer, people will get back to going to clubs, going to shows, hanging with their friends, and giving pounds. But if this thing really gets cured, then people gonna be giving each other pounds again, and handshakes. Handshakes
at the elbow joint, right?
Been going on Yeah, but what I'm saying is, these are things we get pounds from handshakes. You know what I'm saying? So you see handshakes been going on from forever, and then because we're black and we're creative, we made it slicker. Now you got pounds. You got give me 5 and pounds and all of that. Those things, those simple little interactions are necessary. That's why people will still give an elbow bump or give a fist bump, because they feel like that human interaction needs to happen. So yes, we have to be extremely creative in these times, and that's why we are being extremely creative, but it's because we want to deal with people.
They've even been doing studies and just even asking people, or just living it yourself, about how lonely people have gotten in this time, being in the house, and especially with the spikes going on in other parts now. It's like, damn. Then I believe, what was it, 31 states or some shit like that that had to be kind of on like some sort of a lockdown, or some sort of had to have some restrictions, just based off of the fact that stuff started rising up again. So I agree that whatever we got to do now is a thing. But yeah, I mean, because people are getting bored just with the shit that they doing on a regular, just as soon as they were allowed to open, because the places still got restrictions as far as how you got to eat and eat outside and this, that, and the third. But people are going to get tired. People are getting bored. It's summertime, and being outside and going to outside events when the weather is all that's being missed.
But the arrogance of Americans are the reason why we're in the state we're in.
Yeah, just I was about to, like, you see that news report with the lady now. I was talking about the medication that said that she cured 150 people with the virus, and they're fine and they never got sick. Now they got a new video with her talking about astral sex and demons, and I'm like, so that's the person that you're supposed to be, can't be taking shit from, anybody that can just get up on, get a platform.
But that person was also able to be infiltrated by the guy in office. You know what I'm saying? So he's speaking about her, doesn't even know her real pedigree. He's like, oh shit, she's black, let me get at her, and I'm gonna run with her. And then he probably thinks black folks are gonna be like, oh look, he's dealing with a black doctor. Yo, the psyche of the dude, wow. And then taking advantage of however he can. If you don't do your due diligence, you're gonna be fucked up in the game. And she's a little off.
She's probably a little. The whole thing is too, like, she's that off. Who the fuck was the people that's behind her? It's like, you don't know if they, they's mental patients that escaped with her or some shit, or if they just.
We don't know if they were paid too.
Paid actors or something. That's what. Yeah, I was speaking about that to my wife earlier. I'm like, they could have been paid, because they was just standing there and she's going off. There's no real, because there's no proof or evidence. And people these days, when they want to believe a certain side, they, propaganda plays this role. It's
sure
the fullest, you know what I mean? And that's what they want to hear. They want to hear, oh, it's not that bad. You could take whatever medication and then you'll be fine. And it's like, nah, because I know people personally that have been affected by it. And I don't believe everything that has been said about it, but just based off of that, I know that it's real to an extent. So, and I also know that it's not even if there is a pill or a vaccine that's out, they're not going to give it to us like that. They're going
to. Not in America.
No.
Not in America.
Hell no. Because the pharma companies are going to get in on it.
Yeah, that has to happen.
Yeah, they want to.
In other places where healthcare is free, you probably will see things that are.
Yeah, because they're not making an incentive on people lining up to go to the hospital and to get tested or to have to take medications. But I think it's also shown a lot in us and how we have just our survival capabilities as humans. When shit gets rough, and it shows a separation between people who have the sense to go on and and the people who don't, who are ignorant,
right.
And they're the ones that are actually making it worse. Right. So hopefully people get get in tune with what's going on and stop listening to that guy.
Whew. Special guy right there.
What's your viewpoint on all the racial injustices that's going on right now? Like as far as the responses to it and the lack thereof, you know, that type of thing.
Well, I'm over 50, so I done seen a lot.
Right.
And since I was a kid, I've been upfront and personal with racial injustice, and it's a lot of layers.
Definitely.
But when I look at the responses and the things that are happening now, if you look, you'll see that the biggest difference with what's happening right now is the front line is like 60-40 white folks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because it's 60-40 white folks, things are a little different. You know what I'm saying? And things may happen. Not that they will, I said they may, because it is
They might pay attention now.
America. I think the white kids that are on the front line are sick of being lumped in with their racist parents, knowing they have a privilege and not doing something with it. So I think they're trying, because I also think they understand the power of a Black uprising.
And they don't want to see that.
Yeah, I'm like 100% sure they don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? You have to know that they're like naturally scared of us. You gotta know that when you can look at a person and know that you beat them down for 400 years and they're still like, hey, how you doing? You gotta be like, wait a minute, they're not regular.
I think it's that, and also think it's a lot to deal with. Even with some of us, unfortunately, is the trending thing to be woke now. It's trending to, you know, it's more like you're the unpopular person in the room if you say a racist comment, or if you know, as opposed to before, like you saying, the numbers and everything is shifting. But sometimes I do question why. I don't know if it matters. Sometimes at the end of the day, it's going to relate to actual change. So it's like if you're doing it because you see people posting it up on Twitter or IG or whatever, and you want to be down, but then it actually converts to stuff actually being done, then I guess I'm okay with that. I guess I just, for me, I also question anybody's real purpose past all that, because it's like once things, if everything was to change today, then we have to maintain that change, you know. And if you're doing it for because you want to, because it's the trend, it's the end thing, that's the shit to do right now, then it's like that's how things could go back too, because then your real and true colors could come out. Just like the shorty that was in the park with was walking the door when the guy was bird watching. She flipped out on him, saying the whole she helped popularize the term Karen and all that. It's like with that mentality, but then when things come down to it, and when it comes to your job, when they're the same ones that are going around wanting to stand side by side because it looks good, you know what I mean? So that's the only thing. It's like at the end of the day, we need, which is not going to happen overnight. We need, it's just also about a way of thinking for people, and that. But I think we are coming somewhat of a long way, considering.
Well, the reason why they're in the state that they are is because they're not educated about us. So no matter what happens, if the education of the people doesn't change, it's not going to change. So, and the other part is, I'm at half of the time I'm just like, so what? Don't change. Just let me know who you are, so I can deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Don't hide behind the door and be like, I hate motherfucking black people. But then when you're in front of me, you're like, oh my God, this is so terrible. What's happening here? Don't do that. Be who you are all the time.
Yeah.
So that we know how to deal with you. But make the playing field fair. If you make the playing field fair, I bet you a lot of motherfuckers will change their shit.
Stuff like the NBA, how you feel about that when it's coming back? Because I know you definitely heard how people feel, and you know.
Well, I'm a super sports fan. Like I love basketball, football. I'm a baseball fan. I love tennis. Like I'm a super sports fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it should not be happening because it takes away from the messaging that, you know what it also does? It proves that it's just entertainment. You know, yeah, the competition is the competition, but if it wasn't an entertainment factor to it, go watch sports, don't watch the news. Go watch sports, don't pay attention to the president. Go watch sports, don't worry about Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's a distraction. As much as I want to watch basketball and football and see sports, it's a distraction. And I think, you know, responsibly, with the amount of us who are in the sports world, let's not even think about the black part of it or the virus part of it. Like, how about just you not being with your family 3 months?
Right. In the bubble.
In a bubble with a whole bunch of other basketball players. How do you grow?
Unless you Lou Williams. Take a little step out, get some Magic City wings and shit.
Whoa. A lot of them are going to do that. So that's the other part. You can't forget that they're still kids too. And they're going to be halfway irresponsible. And those fines don't mean nothing when they hold him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They contracts heavily outweigh the fines they give them.
Right. When they hold him, they fuck up $25,000 in a strip club. So
yeah,
you tell them they get $25,000 because they went out of the bubble and did whatever. Like, they're looking at you like, well, I'm gonna make that $25,000 worth it.
I'm kind of torn in between, in the sense that because I was watching something with Steven Jackson, and he made a great point of, if you know, which we have all seen with Trayvon, they bring the hoodies out, they bring the t-shirts out, see the merchandise and everything. The players kind of shed a little light on it, and then that's it. Nothing happens from there. And on the same, you know, so this is why maybe you shouldn't do it, and you should, you know, have the focus on what's going on. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, they do have a platform. I'd rather that they do take the platform to do something with it, other than if they, you know, if it is going to come back and them just playing and just that's all they talking about is the rest of the season, all of this. But
see, there's a huge difference. They have a platform at the game, and they have a platform off the game. These aren't basketball players. These are superstars, world-class superstars. Center, if they feel like it. Yo, LeBron calls up and is like, yo, I want to come down and we just talk about some shit. They're going to clear a schedule. Chris Paul want to come on, he want to talk and clear a schedule. Shaquille O'Neal, anybody in basketball that is from the 50% up, they have a serious platform to do and speak. Their social medias are crazy. Because if one of them fucks up with a girl, the whole world knows, right?
Yeah, like Tristan Thompson's in the club kissing on them chicks, and I'm like, bro, you can't do that.
It's like you need to. You have a platform, and he's like a B-list athlete, you know what I'm saying? But it was news, you know what I'm saying? It was a thing. So you have a platform. You don't necessarily need to be on the court to make a difference. You know, there was a Bill Russell in a Chamberlain and a Jim Brown and a Muhammad Ali and a Colin Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? You have a platform.
Outside, that's true.
Think about
Kaepernick
it.
wasn't playing for what, 4 years before they even started talking about doing something. But at the same time, I want to see the officers that killed Breonna Taylor arrested, which that hasn't happened. And you know, you want to make sure that the officers that's charged in all these other cases, or just people in general, that they get the just due. I guess it's just, if it's my own thing, I get, you know what I mean? Like, if it's gonna be a distraction, at least if people are watching that hopes that it would, but then getting someone who can't do something to think differently, is how's that gonna, you're not going to the lawmakers directly unless you are. That's really the only way that you're gonna make change, especially with the influence, like you said, that they got. Shaq, like you said, Shaq been retired for how long now? But this guy's got his hands in everything. Mm-hmm. Literally everything. This guy's got his hands in this shit. And it's like, you know, when you make so much many business deals, your relationships constantly grow, your network grows, and your asset to other people. You help make them money. And a lot of those times, those people might be politicians and lawmakers themselves, because they invest a lot. So, you know,
Shaquille O'Neal is a cop.
Huh?
Shaquille O'Neal is a police officer.
Yeah. That's true. Well, it was in Miami, right?
Platform. Orlando.
Orlando.
He was in Orlando. He was in LA. He might be in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, he might be. I mean, he's a person that got his hands in everything. So when you're a person that's always involved in so much, your influence constantly grows. So I do get that. I guess it's like, you know, I do want to see the game.
Right, because you play sports.
Yeah, I want to see some balls.
Because it's entertainment and it sets you free from reality. And then reality comes back and slaps you up. They could be playing all they want. When another black kid gets shot while the game is going on, it's going to smack you up.
True.
Stop playing ball. Let's address this shit. Let's address the COVID. Let's address everything. Like, get it out the way. Because basketball's not going nowhere.
Even with that's another thing. What do you think about the schools and sending the children back and keeping them home and that type of thing?
Okay. If everybody can't go to work, then kids can't go to school, because school is everybody's daycare. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
you got need somebody to watch the kids. You technically, that's why they in school, to learn and to be watched.
Right, that's their daycare. Now all of a sudden you're telling them, you go to school in that super unsafe environment now, with a whole bunch of kids who could be walking around with COVID and passing it around because kids don't have it the same way as adults do, and then they bring it home, and you got it, and it's everything. If you can't go back to work, then kids really can't go to school. If the whole workforce can't work, and that ain't gonna be for a long time, then it's really hard to send kids to school. Because if your mother's at work and the kid has to homeschool, then she's fucked. So they have to be able to go back together. If everybody can't go back together, it's going to be really tough.
And, you know, then there's a socialization that, you know, me and my wife were talking about, like, you know, when we never lived through a situation where we had to be out, unless it's for snow or some shit, for more than a few days, if that. It was never a situation where we had to be out for months because of some type of pandemic. So our generations don't have the idea really of how it is to not have socialization. Plus, we didn't have social media and all of that stuff either. So, things is different for us. They maybe at least do have that, but you also don't want them that, you know, as it is when they're home, they want them to learn on the laptops or the tablets. So it's like, damn, it's bad enough they want to be on the tablets and the phones all the time anyway. And you got to kind of say, hey, you know, read a book or do some other shit. Like, damn, you've been on that for hours. So now it's like, you're kind of, you know, we not set up play dates at times with people that you trust and know. So be like, yo, your kids, my kids, let's get them together, you know.
Or
Mm,
you have to teach your kids.
yeah. That's it.
That's what it was back in the days. Might have to go back to it.
A lot of parents don't like checking homework, B. But it's true, you know. I mean, like it's technically supposed to come from you first, anyway.
Amen.
So it's like, you know, I know a lot of parents are pissed off because the parents that want to send them back are pissed off because of that.
I mean, the reason why a lot of our Americans are in the state that they're in is because no one taught them anything for 12 years of school. They let the school teach them.
Mm-hmm.
And if the school is teaching you American history starting at third grade all the way to 12th grade, and American history says that Black people were slaves and white people were the master, by the time they get out of school, they believe what they learned.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're sitting around and they don't believe they can be better than or they're equal to because they believe that they were slaves. But if you're educating your kids before they get to that, then they can question it. They can know that they have the answer to it. They can move differently. But, you know, Black folks be busy.
What do you remember about Black History Month when in school, like what they taught?
It was never really a thing when I was in school.
Or anything ever hearing about it as far as like what?
I mean, you heard about it, but it wasn't a thing. And the good part is that I was well versed on our history since I was 5 and 6. So whatever they were teaching was like super elementary to me because I know who I am. I know where I come from. I know the history of our people. So whatever they're doing in these Black History Months and write something about Crispus Attucks and how about we gonna write about the people from Egypt? How about we gonna write about people from Mesopotamia? How about we gonna do that instead? I'm gonna do that. Y'all do that, I'm gonna do this. Because I know about us.
You know what, before you get off, I do have to ask, I gotta ask some hip hop questions for you. Cause I ask Ski this shit all the time, like anytime I get with him. And actually, let's start with that. Your relationship with my man Ski Beats, like everything still, obviously y'all still cool, y'all still good. Is that great? I ask a good question there. Like y'all still fam, obviously, right?
Who, Ski?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my guy.
Obviously.
That's a question.
And that's like how would you explain like because the story as he tells it is that he was chilling at home or whatever, you hit him up and that was kind of it as far as with his production. Like obviously there's more to that, but that's the gist of him getting on his start. Like how did you come about even thinking like, yo, you know, this brother has enough for me to hit him up and kind of give him that push that he needed?
Well, I don't know if Ski told you how I met him.
Believe so.
When he was in North Carolina, he was doing a show with his group, the Busy Boys, and I met him. And I used to play his record on the radio, and I told him when I met him, I was like, if you ever come to New York, and I have the power, I'm gonna try to give you a record deal. And he came to New York, so I gave him a record deal. And he was producing as well, because him and Fanatic were partners in the Busy Boys, and they all were producers. So they were all producers. He was a rapper, and when he came to New York, he was producing. And soon as I knew he was in New York, and then funny enough, he was with Damon Dash, I was like, oh yeah, he gets a deal. That's not even a question. Like, it was easy for me to give him a deal. But then, you know, what I really tried to do is get him to see that what he's doing for him and his group, he can do for others. You know what I mean? Because he had music. And to me, it was like, yo, sell it. You should be selling beats. He used to come to my house and make beats all day. We used to be in the house making tracks all the time. I had a studio in my house. He used to come to my house from the Bronx, make tracks all day. That's what we did. So I was just like, yo, you gotta sell it.
I think it's he kind of jokes to me because he's like, "Oh, you still rapping?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still rapping." He's like, every time I see some shit, you doing some beat shit, and I'm like, because I'm trying to find a perfect way to balance being both, because it switches sometimes. Sometimes I feel like being more the MC, and sometimes I feel like producing because it might be coming more naturally at that moment in time. Mm-hmm. Like, have you? Through all this time that you've been around, have you seen anybody juggle both successfully? Like, and also where they're recognized as both a legitimate producer and an MC.
Producer and MC, that would be Kanye West, J. Cole. You know what I'm saying? Those guys are producing MCs. The Pharrell. Those are producing MCs. Like Pharrell is an MC. Like, if I had to pick and say who are the ones that I say are juggling it perfectly, that's Kanye West and J. Cole. They're not missing. J. Cole makes great beats and he rhymes his ass off. Kanye makes great beats and rhymes his ass off. They're doing it perfectly. Large Professor used to do it perfectly. Q-Tip used to do it perfectly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But the ones who are right now not missing, that would be J. Cole. That would be Kanye West.
The last thing before I let you, because I've seen this over the years with you on numerous other interviews. Well, I'm gonna see if I'm gonna pose it a little different. We've seen where Jay's been, right where he's at right now, and do you think that Big would have been doing, because I've heard the stories about Biggie wanting to eventually just be a businessman and kind of just get into the business side of it. He probably would have just dipped all the way back and not really been rapping as much, if at all. Do you think that he would have been kind of like right there, or they would have been definitely been doing a lot of stuff together business wise?
I think Big would be successful. He would have been successful. I think he would have been running a record company. I think he would have had a good run as a music guy. I don't think he would have been like Jay, because there was a different. Jay is a hustler. You know what I'm saying? Big is an artist. Jay just happens to know how to rap really, really good, but he's a hustler first. You know what I'm saying? He might have been an MC when I first met him, but then the way he became as a hustler, like he was not gonna lose at what he was doing once he got in the game. Like Big was gonna keep being one of the greatest rappers we've ever heard. The thing that would have been happening is they would have been doing a lot of cool ass projects together. They would have been doing a lot of cool shit together because they were real friends. So, yeah.
Like Big was one of the reasons that made me want to, because I was always kind of scribbling and shit. Never really took it seriously. Obviously, I don't come off like that, but it's just his energy and his delivery is what made me want to do it. It made me want to take it serious and want to even say, I'm gonna get into hip hop, like for real, instead of just being a spectator. I'm gonna do more with it. So definitely shout out to Big. The issue for me is that a lot of the times everybody kind of just blends in. You can't really tell who's who unless you see it. You be like, oh, that's who makes that song. I thought it was, whoever. And then it was like you couldn't have any confusion. You knew who Naughty by Nature was, and you knew who, Mobb Deep was. You knew who Outkast was. I'm just saying, like, anybody just based off of where they were from and the music and stuff that they had. Do you see that being something now? This is the last thing I'm gonna leave you with, because we gonna talk forever if I keep going, because shit we love to talk about. Do you see it now like it being, because you know, having those few artists that come out and they'll pop up and they'll kind of just shine through, and then they'll be the difference makers? Or do you see a lot of just constant copying going on to a point where it's like it's going to get super stale and we got to do something to make it pop back, be fresh again?
You like A Tribe Called Quest, Biggie, Ice Cube, Public Enemy, De La Soul, Jay-Z, Nas, whomever from your era that you really fell in love with rap. You loved them because they weren't like everybody else. That shit is gonna go on for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a bunch of artists gonna be the ones that separate themselves. There's gonna be a J. Cole. There's gonna be a Kanye West. There's gonna be a Kendrick Lamar. There's gonna be guys who separate themselves. And then you're gonna have a bunch of trap artists, and one of them is gonna be better than everyone else. And it's gonna be fine. But in the midst of all the others, you're just gonna be having a good time right here. Or you're gonna fall in love when they're different. So
exactly.
So the shit's gonna go on forever. And there's no way you can get rid of it. And the reason why is because there are people who don't need elite shit.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
There are people who don't need shit to be elite. So they'll be cool with something that's just all right. I mean, but when you're listening to a song, you're not thinking about the 8 seconds. If you come from a time when records were 5 minutes, 6 minutes long. So times are different. They got to keep reinventing. And once you grab attention, then you can make your 5-minute records again. Then you can make your whole albums that matter to someone. But while these kids are trying to just grab your attention, these records are going to be short. They're going to be making records that are halfway. And the energy is what's going to get you, and not the actual content. I said, at the same time, there's nothing wrong with energy.
No, nothing wrong with it. I just want to say again, yo, appreciate you as a brother.
So, brother.
First and foremost, and appreciate your contribution to the culture and to what I'm trying to do.
Stay safe, teach the babies, hug your wife.
I definitely will, man. All right. So peace and love, man.
Amen.
Have a blessed day, all right?
You too, man.
All right.